Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Musical Talk. My name is Nick Hudson. I hope you're well. Hello, Hannah.
Hello, Nick.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, you're doing some photo shoots for us before we start recording.
Shush, you're giving my secrets away.
I thought what we'd do this week is we'd revive a little game that I love to play, where I have a large collection of programmes, don't I, Hannah?
That you do, which is, it's impressive as somebody who hoards programmes too.
Yeah.
I love it.
There's something magical about just looking at them and remembering shows, but in a way it's a good topic generator for the podcast, because when you have nothing to talk about, you think, let's just have a random show generator, which is what it is, in a way, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
So I've picked out a couple of programmes. I did close my eyes.
You did.
And I know what one is, and I know it's going to lead to a fun conversation.
How do you know what one is if you had your eyes closed?
Well,
is it because it's peeking out the bottom of the piece of paper there that I tried to cover it?
And I'm grabbing a programme now. It might not be a musical, it might be a play, but the first thing we're going to talk about is, God, I don't remember this, Hamlet the musical.
They made a musical?
Evidently. And
wow.
It was,
where was it?
It was at the Richmond Theatre, which is near me, in
That's a nice venue, actually.
2011.
Okay.
And
gosh,
I think Jack Shalhoub is in it, looking at the front artwork. But
now, was this a touring production? Was this a local
I guess it must have been, because it was only at the Richmond Theatre for 4 days.
Okay.
And the Richmond Theatre is prone to a touring production. And this was by Alex Silverman, Timothy Knapman, and Edward Jaspers.
Now, do you remember this?
I don't.
So Hamlet the musical was not one of the more memorable moments.
Obviously came from the, it says here, a 50-minute cabaret-style show from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So I'm sure Thos talked about it in one of his many episodes. And here is obviously Jack Shalhoub.
God, 2011, that is a while ago.
Standing outside the old Battersea Power Station for a rustic photo shoot, and do a little Q&A with him. I love programmes. I love the absolute trash they just
the thing is, I feel like the love of programmes, that is a genuine thing, because last week when we were at Priscilla, people came up and asked where our programme came from. So I think programmes are a very powerful thing.
Yes, so Jack Shalhoub did play Hamlet. David Burt, Virg Gilchrist was in it. Mark Inscoe, Jess Robinson, now famous impressionist and singer, and Gabriel Vick. I'm not a big Shakespeare person, though, so it's probably why I don't remember it.
I have seen a Shakespeare production.
Yeah, which one?
Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
It was at the tobacco factory in Bristol.
Yep.
And I had to go and see it as part of my A-level drama.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had to write. We had an exam based on it, I think, and it was a modern retelling of the classic.
Of course, because we can't do the traditional retelling.
And they were at a rave and all sorts. Interesting. I feel like programs as well. Just going back to it, they kind of give you bragging rights.
They do, especially because if they're signed or something.
No, well, yeah, true. But just seeing your massive collection of programs, like. Okay.
Hang on, are you a programme fan or are you brochure fan? And shows don't do...
I get both.
Shows don't do both much anymore. They tend to combine the two because you can make more money.
No. So
I'm talking about the big boys I have down there that are too big to go upright in my show.
Yeah, I have those as well.
But you can't seem to get them as much now.
Oh, you go to a touring production in Plymouth. They have both because they want to make money. Yeah. So they have the brochure, which is all the pictures and the nice bits, which in the big glossy ones. And then they do the programmes with all the cast lists and everything in, and all the information about the people in the show, and they try and sell you both. And that's how they make money.
And would you rather do what Broadway do, and America in general, where they give you a free playbill.
They're free.
Where it's the
I never
same-
realised they were free.
Same layout for every show, loads of
I
adverts.
do like them. I've seen
got some
people.
if you want to. I might have one in this pile, I don't know. But
Do they then do like show ones as well?
they will do a big glossy show one,
I
usually
like
for about
the
$40.
continuity of a playbill. I
Yeah.
always have like the size is standard. You've got your playbill across the
Yeah.
It's iconic. I've never been to New York. I've never seen a Broadway show, but I know what a playbill looks like. How iconic is that?
And very good
why-
that you can just get some shows here, like the National, will give you a cast list.
Okay.
But generally just hop on your phone and go on the website.
Well, that's the thing, but I like having them because, like, that was one of the first things that I was drawn to when I came into this studio of yours. I was like, your program collection, like, that is incredible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what we don't have much to say about Hamlet the musical because I don't really remember it. But
let's move on.
Look at this one. Okay, so
Oh, right. This is where I leave and I go and find my brother to come on this show.
not a musical, as I said, but
Here we go.
Derren Brown, Mind Weeder, where he weeds your mind, Mind Reader, An Evening of Wonders. But the thing I'm going to draw everyone to is directed by Andy Nyman. So he's a
Alfie had this poster on his bedroom wall.
good friend of the podcast. He's been on my theme park podcast with his son Preston. But Andy is a musical theatre performer himself. He was a couple of years ago in Fiddler on the Roof, where he portrayed Tevye incredibly well, and he's about to this summer he goes into Hello Dolly with Imelda Staunton at the London Palladium.
Oh, I bet that'll be good.
So obviously he brings his love of theatre into all that Derren does, and it's a spectacle, isn't it? Have you ever seen Derren Brown live?
No, why would I?
Because he's a brilliant performer.
But that's...
I need to sit you down and make you watch loads of Derren Brown.
No. Please don't.
Anyway, we don't.
It would make my brother too happy. No.
Okay, well, your brother and I will sit you
go,
down.
yeah, you go. You go and do your thing.
I'll watch it all with your brother, shall I?
Yeah, fine.
We should get your brother on the show because he
That's
can
what
talk,
I was saying. He could talk about
he
this
can talk
for
about his
days.
pantomime.
Oh gosh, yes, he could. But he could talk. Honestly, my brother loves Derren Brown. He really does. Shout out to you, Alfie. Absolutely adores him. As you know, my brother also loves magic, illusion, all of that. Has done from a very early age, and was quite good at it for quite a while. Probably a bit rusty now, but he loves Derren Brown, and he could talk about him forever. And
But Derren Brown is one of those few British magicians, because magic is it's not a dying art, but it's not the big theatre filler it once was. But Derren Brown is still one of those magicians
who can
do a UK tour, film it, and fill a venue.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is I'm not saying that what he does isn't fantastic. I think what he does is unbelievable. But very much my brother's thing, and I'll leave that to him. But no, what he does is, from what I gather, extremely impressive.
It's wonderful and very theatrical, which is why I like
but
it.
I mean, we watched Svengali on DVD, and I think I
was there live.
I think I fell asleep whilst we were watching it.
Okay, well, that's a you problem. You mentioned something to me earlier about the jukebox musical.
Oh, the anniversary of the jukebox musical was recently.
And it's a much older tradition than people might think, because it started with Singing in the Rain was one of the earlier ones. I think there might have been one before that, possibly, but Singing in the Rain is one of the early jukebox musicals.
It's the most documented, birth
But the program
of
I have here is for fun enough, another Shakespeare musical turned into a very successful act musician rock and roll musical called Return to the Forbidden Planet, which I also saw at the Richmond Theatre.
They like their Shakespeare. They're Shakespeare musicals at the Richmond Theatre.
You open the programme and it's got exactly the same advert
I love that.
as the other.
That's consistent. And I
Yeah.
said I like... Oh, I like it.
For Don Fernando's, but these programmes are probably 10 years apart from each other.
That's brilliant.
Next door to the station, 1 minute from the theatre. So, Return to the Forbidden Planet is I think it's a Shakespeare, I think it's The Tempest,
Okay.
told with rock and roll on a spaceship in the style of a 1950s
No.
B-movie
Why have I never heard of this?
with rock and roll songs,
Oh my gosh.
all played and performed by members of the cast.
Oh my gosh, why haven't I heard of this?
So let me just have a look.
Do you remember it?
I do. I remember being very impressed with the cast. And it's produced by the late Andrei Tesinski. I think I'm saying his name correctly. So before the return, or how to create a hit sci-fi rock and roll musical.
That's
based on
incredible.
Shakespeare. Does it mention what play it was? Yes, The Tempest, written in 1611. Set it in space, based it on 1950s B movies with robots and aliens and stuff. And
That's brilliant.
there is a cast recording out there.
Oh my gosh.
If you want to hear it.
I think I might have to. Why is it taking me this long to find out that this is a thing?
Well, because it's just a thing that should.
Somebody revive it. Bring it back on tour.
There's even a character in it called Ariel. There we go.
Okay, bring this on
man.
tour now. I don't. Yeah, but there is. There's the character. Isn't that in
The Tempest,
In the
yeah.
Tempest, yeah.
So it's written,
that was another one I had to do. English literature.
Written
I had
and
to study The
directed
Tempest.
by Bob Carlton from the Queen's Theatre Hornchurch. And whether he's still with us or not, I don't know. But it's one of those. And Ariel has his own costume designer. There we go. What a wonderful credit. Adrian Reese studied at Wimbledon School of Art.
Oh,
Well, if you go to Wetherspoons in Wimbledon on an evening, you will find 90% of the students.
as with any weather.
And that's originally started at the Theatre Royal in...
Plymouth.
Correct.
Did it?
Yeah.
How long ago was this? For those of you who don't know, not that you would, I'm from the West Country.
Yeah.
So Plymouth and Torquay are my local theatres.
Doesn't say, I don't
Very
know.
beautiful venues.
So they did Buddy as well, which is another successful jukebox. Bio-cool, I call them, the story of Buddy Holly.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's kind of, maybe they thought they had that and thought, rock and roll on stage. That
Maybe.
makes money, let's do that.
So far, 3 very different shows.
Excuse me, I still have a cough, but
We didn't really talk much. What was Derren Brown like? What do you remember from the show?
back to Derren Brown, they all kind of blend into one if you've seen as many
Yeah.
as I have, but because it's not a musical, it's not really in the remit of this podcast. I just like how theatrical
I just wondered if you
he
could
is.
And
And
much from the show.
it is on television if you want to watch it. They do film his shows, much like Sondheim. But it's...
There's an idea. A Derren Brown musical.
I do like how every page of this programme appears to have the same picture with just different lighting levels.
That's oh my gosh.
Looking into his crystal ball there with hair. Yeah, it's... he did... In one of his shows, he actually used the programme for one of the illusions.
Okay.
Where he did kind of... he was outing faith healers as a myth.
Okay.
And he was saying, I'm going to prove it to you that I can do it to anyone in this audience. And he got someone up in the audience to open their programme. He said, turn to page 12 in your programme, and it had, I can read, written in massive letters at the top or something like that. And she couldn't read it. Because he took her eyesight away. Or the ability to read words. And then when he gave it back to her, she went, I can read. Yes, you can. So, a little fun. You look very confused.
Yeah.
Why?
Not my jam.
Okay, not your jam. Right, what programme am I going to pick up next? Okay, now. This is a show I haven't seen.
Why have you got the programme
But
then?
my mum was a huge fan of it.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And this is the cultural phenomenon that nothing says more mid-90s than Riverdance.
Now,
The show with Michael Flatley.
No, my friend Gemma is a massive fan of this show.
Okay, should we get her on the phone for 3 minutes? Be like, phone a friend.
But it's a show I know nothing about.
Yeah.
There's some dancing in it.
There is some dancing in it.
And it's Irish dancing.
It
Is it
was
Irish
a phenomenon. This
I think it still is. Isn't it? Aren't they bringing it on tour again?
probably.
Where's my phone? I'm going to look at this.
This programme is 63 pages long. You can swear, it's fine.
Fucking hell. I held myself then.
Yeah, and this played at another theatre down the road from me called the Hammersmith Apollo.
I mean, fair enough. If you're buying the programme and you want the information.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty popular show. People like it.
It was, and it was, it's been parodied so much. I kind of wish I did see it, but it was at the age when I didn't really go to everything. I
old were you?
went to very few select things.
You
I'm
go to
sure it is
very
still
few-
touring.
You go to very few things now if they're on past 8 o'clock.
True. That's why God invented matinees.
I do like a matinee.
But it's just one of those shows that...
Babe, it's back.
Yeah?
It's back.
But the thing is, Michael Flatley was in this.
Oh, okay.
That's the big thing. And nowadays, he's just, one of the...
So do you think that was part of the draw and the appeal?
Absolutely. It was a
Okay.
big show to see, and it was...
It's on sale now.
Okay. Would you go and see it?
Well, that was a silence.
For those of you not in the room...
I don't know, because it's a show that so many people go on about. But it's one of those things, as with most things, but like things like Wicked, okay, something I've never seen, and I don't know anything.
Many people are very angry at you.
And I don't really know a lot about. And I'm not saying that through complete ignorance. I do want to know, but I like to leave a show to surprise me until I see it. So I like to go in empty and have the show as a blank canvas.
To go in empty? You mean...
My brain
with
empty.
no knowledge.
With no knowledge of it. Which...
Like when we saw...
Matilda...
Or... opening night.
Opening night or
If it's
anything.
still
I
open
like
at
to
the time
go
this
in
episode going out.
and have my first impressions be seeing it there and then, not what I've seen on social media, not what I've seen on TV or anything like that. The only exception to this rule was Hamilton, because I saw it on Disney Plus before I saw it on the stage.
Which is a plus when it comes to that show, because you need to know what's going on and what's being said.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can work it out. But Riverdance is one of those that I genuinely know nothing about. I know that it's Irish dancing. I know that there's green dresses. I know there's that big number I guess it's at the end, and that's it. I don't know if there's a story. I don't know anything. So it's not one of those that's like, I need to see this, but it is on my kind of curiosity list. But it's one of those that I also wouldn't travel really far to go to. I say that, and I'm just looking at the website now, and it is going to Torquay.
Okay.
November, driving down to Torquay.
But when it was here...
Yes. What do you know of it? Tell me more.
I know very little about it.
Why was your mum such a huge fan, do you think?
She just loved it. Just absolutely... Her and her friends would go and see this show and they loved Michael Flatley. I think
Was that the draw for
women
them?
of a certain age.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a very big draw. But the dancing was... My dad went and he loved it.
Oh, really?
Okay. I think it's one of those shows that is always kind of like... But when you see it...
Yeah, you really enjoy it.
It must be incredible.
I wonder as well if it's the whole atmosphere thing. Because nothing compares to the atmosphere in a venue.
And
it doesn't matter what you see.
And seeing it, for those of you who don't know, the Hammersmith Apollo, a 5,000 seat theatre.
That's big. Okay.
With a huge stage filled with everyone doing the same.
I bet it's impressive.
And the biggest star of the time, Michael Flatley.
I bet, yeah. Okay.
Right. I'm just going to hand this one over to Hannah now.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick up more programmes. Have you ever seen this brochure?
What, this one that I'm holding?
Yeah.
Yes, because you've shown it to me before.
Right. This is Beetlejuice.
It is Beetlejuice. This looks like my makeup palette box. I haven't seen the show. Nick, you've left me hanging talking about a show I haven't seen.
Share your thoughts on the pictures.
Oh, okay.
This is about programming. Does it make you want to see it? Things like that.
Yes and no, because I'm a huge fan of the film, as are a lot of people. And when they said that they were doing the musical of it, I was like, a musical of Beetlejuice? Really? Like, that doesn't quite fit like a show, yes, but a musical. Huh. It's one I'm curious about.
Especially with no Danny Elfman music in it.
Don't, because that breaks my heart. None whatsoever.
Correct.
No, not seeing it. Next.
Really? So is that such a big draw for you?
Yeah. Hello.
There's music like Danny Elfman would have written.
No, not like he would have written.
But that's
I want his stuff in
but
it.
that's interesting, though. So Eddie Perfect's songs, which are far from perfect, And that's a big issue with the
I've
show.
heard, this is the thing, I've heard one of the songs.
Which one have you heard?
Say My Name.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't draw me in. And I just think, oh my God, this is boring. Like, and
visually,
I bet it's amazing.
Everything you want.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but Danny Elfman's music just makes a Tim Burton film what it is. I mean, I took you took me, we went together to the Danny Elfman music of Tim Burton film, which is something I've been to. That was my third time going and Nick's first time going. And it really is. It's just a beautiful summary of all of their work together.
It's like if they did Edward Scissorhands without Danny Elfman's music.
Yeah, exactly. With Beetlejuice being one of the biggest draws, and yet that's such a key thing that's thrown away. No.
So if it were to come here...
Yep.
And it undoubtedly will, you wouldn't see it.
I would, out of curiosity, and because I'm a huge fan of Tim Burton, of the film, and, you know, the musical has been something on my mind. But I feel like it runs in the same vein as the Addams Family musical. This is just like what I get from it. In that, you have such great core things that you base it on, and it's just like, yeah, we don't really talk about that. It's a thing that happens that some people love, but it could have been done a lot better. Do you know what I mean? And I feel harsh saying that when I haven't seen the show. I feel like I can't critique when I haven't seen it.
I saw the show and I still feel that it could have been done better, but that's because I just don't think the songs are good enough.
Okay. Do you think if Danny Elfman had done it?
No, I think it needed a real musical theatre writer to do it.
If he'd have done it in collaboration with?
No.
Why? I didn't think we'd break up on a podcast, but here we.
It's a time and place for everything on Musical Talk. A show that I'm sure you will have a lot more positive things to say. This is the first brochure I have here of Mary Poppins.
Oh.
From when it opened at the Prince Edward Theatre.
Back in when?
Back in 2008 or whatever it was. And it's a beautiful kind of. Before the show rebranded, and it was all done as a kind of when Mary was made up of rose petals and things. And
whenever it first toured, I saw it.
This was 2004.
I was going to say, I'm sure I saw it in 2005.
Okay. How old were you? 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I would have been 8.
And what do you remember of the show?
I don't really. Because I've seen it since then. So that's kind of what my memory is. All I knew was to book tickets in the circle, and I won't reveal the end bit, but when the end bit happens, you get a really nice view of it. You know?
And this had Laura Michelle Kelly in it.
Gosh, I know that she has rosy cheeks, but what they've done in that photo, and they've given her full clown cheeks. Wow. That was a choice.
Had my friend Jared Carey in it, and it had Gavin Lee in it.
I love it. I think it's such a classic.
And this was before Disney stepped in and Disneyfied it.
Okay.
So it was a lot more drab.
Okay.
As a production, it wasn't as luminescent, I guess you could say, because now Jolly Holiday is all like fluorescent colours and things.
Oh, is it?
It's all a bit cartoony. Whereas here, the only colour you had was Bert and Mary.
I like that. But then I see why it needed more.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that in like the vintage poster style. Yeah. That's cute.
And Bob Crowley did the set.
Rank set.
And it still is one of the most incredible sets I've ever seen. I remember going to the Prince Edward Theatre saying, Prince Edward Theatre's not a big theatre. It won't have a big set. I was wrong.
Sorry, whoa. What were those words?
I was wrong.
Wow.
I said there's a time and place for everything on this podcast.
Including Nick Hudson admitting he's wrong.
Now, this is nice. Some programmes in the centre pages, they do fold-out things. And
that's cute.
In this one, you get the longest word in the world above the...
You know, you can say it backwards, which is Doja Sally XP Fragicola but that's going a bit too far, don't you think?
She might be clever, but she's bloody good. Or tricky, whatever the word is. The weird Temper song that isn't in the show anymore. It's been replaced by Playing the Game. Love that song. And I love this show. It's one of my favourites. Rosie Ash playing Miss Andrew, good friend of the podcast. Wonderful, wonderful performer. And the original Carlos were in Phantom of the Opera. But interestingly, they don't reveal, apart from one picture, they don't reveal the Full House set.
Good. I love it because I love a surprise.
Yeah.
So this isn't not really an argument, but it's something that my mum does when we've been to the theatre together. And she'll get the programme and she'll sit there before the show and just start flicking through it, even if I've got no idea what the show's about. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. And she's there flicking towards the back. I'm like, stop it, you're going to give it away. And then she gets really, she got a little bit funny. She's like, oh, fine, I won't look at it. I'm like, no, look at it. Just make sure I'm not looking at it. Because I don't want any spoilers.
I look in the interval, just very briefly.
That's what my mum did.
And
I'm like, why are you spoiling Act 2? You look up until the centre page where they've got the cast list. And then you stop and you wait until the end of the show.
I have two programmes here.
You're like, I'm going to draw this one to a close.
Well, one is for a play with songs or musical, I don't know, called Backbeat.
Is a play with songs
which
not
we
just a
have talked about on the podcast before with Jonathan Cohen. And another one is for a show I don't even remember seeing called Let It Be, which is a Beatles musical at the Prince of Wales Theatre. Now, when would this have been? This is, Stelford McIntosh.
This is the thing being here. You have access to so many shows that I didn't even realise were a thing. Because
I have seen so many shows that I didn't even realise were a thing.
Down my way, if things don't tour, you don't know that they exist.
So, this show is created and conceived by Rain, which is Mark Lewis, Joey Corotolo, Ralph Castelli, Joe Bithorn, and Steve Lands. I don't remember seeing this at all. Maybe I didn't see it. Maybe it's just a program I got from my parents.
That's the thing, because some of your
we need my
programs
friend Harrison here to kind of look at this. But yeah, that's Let It Be, obviously. So it must have been 2012. Because it was celebrating the 50th year of the Beatles. Okay, fine.
You're like, yep, that's the thing that happened. Let's move on.
Backbeat at the Duke of York's.
So is a play with songs different to a musical then? If so, how so?
Well, a play with songs obviously uses music more than a play without songs would. Okay. But a play with songs will often have songs that are part of the story. Whereas a musical they will sing a song about how much they love each other, and it's not part of the world in which they're living in. It's just a concept.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
So you could argue that things like the Buddy Holly story or Jersey Boys are plays with songs because they're not musicals.
Okay.
But they're treated as musicals because they kind of make the songs have different layers. I think.
Okay.
Anyway, Backbeat, another kind of Beatles show because it's got advertisements of Beatles walks in it in London. Obviously, going across a zebra crossing. It's just I think it's funny how I just picked up two programs for Beatles shows completely randomly.
But then if they were next to each other, you might have picked them up thinking Possibly. They were one. Because they were together.
Backbeat's based on a film, Universal Pictures film by Ian Softly and Stephen Jeffries.
Film of the same name? Or
I would guess so.
Not one I've heard of. Because I'm ignorant or because
It's got all the Beatles in it. George Harrison, not the actual Beatles, because that would be impressive.
I don't even know what they're all called.
Don't remember anything about it.
I don't even remember who the Beatles... I remember who they are as a band, but not as individuals.
Okay, right. I'm going to talk about a show that I'm a big fan of.
Okay.
And I remember reviewing it on Musical Talk when it originally opened, and I said, this is the worst musical I've ever seen.
No.
And this is also the best musical I've ever seen.
Okay.
And it was Ghost, the musical.
Is it a musical? Well, I guess it is.
Yeah. As a written piece of musical, it was crap because the songs were written by pop stars, so they don't really, etc., etc. But as a piece of staging with illusion...
I was going to say, is this the illusion one that you spoke to me about?
It was stunning. And then it went on tour. So it went to the New Wimbledon Theatre, which is for what this programme is for. Not to be confused with the Ken Wright production, which is about to go on tour, which is a complete stripped-down version.
Okay.
This was the full -1 illusion, which would be impossible to tour because it involves building an upside-down version of the set and having it hang above the ceiling. Version of the show. So it was lovely to see it again at the New Wimbledon Theatre.
So you've seen this twice?
In the West End, I saw it more than twice.
Oh, okay.
I said when it was at the West End, it was the best magic show in London.
Wow. How long ago was this?
When it opened in the West End, it would have been 2015, 16, because it was same time as Matilda when that opened in town.
Okay.
Because it's the same creative team. In town. Which is why it's so good. What isn't good is having Glenn Ballard and Dave Stewart do the songs. Dave Stewart is from the Eurythmics, and Glenn Ballard works doing lots of pop songs.
Okay. So you're not what you want for a musical?
Not really, but as a piece of theatre...
It worked.
It was incredible. And I'd never seen the film.
No,
it's a really, really good story.
Okay.
So I was really gripped by the story. The songs are fine. They're well staged. They're just not very well written, if that makes sense. But Matthew Warchus is an incredible...
Because, you make loads of your songs, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Matthew Warchus is an incredible musical dramatist, and that's what he does very well. So... Sorry, my cough isn't very good tonight, listeners. I got my next programme here, and it's for a musical called Grand Hotel, which I saw many, 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 many years ago.
I've not heard of it.
At the Donmar, and it's...
I've heard of that.
You've heard of the Donmar?
Yeah.
Musical lyrics by Robert Wright and George Forrest, and additional musical lyrics by Maury Yeston, and book by Luther Davis. I think it's a kind of murder mystery piece.
Cute. I love a good murder mystery.
But it's kind of very noir and moody. It's a novel from Vicky Baum, Grand Hotel. And...
anybody in it that's jumping out at you?
No one.
Do you remember...
Julian Ovenden was in it, a very young Julian Ovenden. He was a wonderful performer. Michael Grandage directed it. Hugh Vanstone did the lighting, who also did the lighting for Ghost.
Do you remember seeing this?
Adam Cooper choreographed it. I remember seeing it, and yes, but I don't remember anything about it.
Okay.
If that makes sense. No fault to the piece by itself. It was just very, very long ago. It was in 2004.
Okay.
So we're talking 20 years ago when I saw this show.
Gee.
But it's one of those shows I like to see again because I think, we've all grown up and matured and things. So,
grown up and matured. I'm just thinking about how old I was in 2004.
So, next production we're going to talk about is Sweeney Todd. But not just any old production of Sweeney Todd.
What production is this?
This is the one that came from the Tooting Arts Club, which is a real place. And they set it in their own pie shop. And it was what you could say nowadays, it was an immersive production of Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
Set. And what Cameron did was he owns obviously the space between the Gielgud and the Sondheim Theatre.
Yeah.
Where his offices are now. But what he did for this production was he recreated the pie shop. And it's a real Victorian, well, it was a real Victorian pie shop. So you go into this pie shop, you sit at big long wooden tables, it's all lit by candlelight, and the show happens around you, and you eat pie and mash.
Wow. How was that?
It was amazing. The orchestra was a clarinet and a piano.
Wow.
So it really showed the score in its bare bones. I I remember in Epiphany, the actor playing Sweeney Todd jumps on the tables where you're sitting and just really gets down up into your face.
Could you imagine how much they would charge to do that now?
Well, this wasn't long ago. So it started it was called Harrington's Pie Shop. And, obviously Cameron McIntosh brought it over, which is very good of him.
Because
this went to Broadway.
Wow, because when I saw Sweeney Todd, it was one at... Oh, gonna help me with the name of the theatre, with the twiddly thing on the top.
Twiddly thing on the top.
Yeah.
Coliseum?
Yeah, that's the one. And
I know my theatre.
yes, you do. You also understand my language.
Yeah.
And it had Bryn Terfel and Emma Thompson in it.
Okay.
And it was more of a concert version than a physical staged...
Semi-staged.
Yeah. It was extremely good and I loved it. But that's the only stage version I have seen. Obviously, I've seen the film.
Sorry, the orchestra was violin, clarinet and piano.
I bet that was good. What do you remember from this?
I remember just being really impressed at the design of the pie shop. I remember how atmospheric it was and how much they could do with candles.
Yeah.
And just a light coming in through a window. And it was really... It showed the creepiness of the piece. It was really... Because it was so literally in your face.
And I bet it was such an intimate environment to see that in as well.
And you're so suffocated by it all.
I love that. I bet that was good.
That was wonderful.
You know how we've got Priscilla the Party? Can we have like Sweeney Todd?
Party.
Yeah, the party.
Les Mis the party. Les Mis the dining experience. So I wait for that one.
Yeah, and then we would just go and shove chairs and tables by the door. Yes.
Empty chairs and empty tables.
Well, it will be by the time we've shoved them all at the door to barricade us in. Yes. We're on to something.
I'm going to talk now about a show I saw on Broadway.
All right, show off.
Called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Many, many years ago.
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, based on the film.
It went on tour over here not that long ago, didn't it?
Based on the film with... I can't remember who was in the film. Was it... Come to me. Who was in the film? I think John Cleese or some Steve Martin. I can't remember. But the stage show featured one of my favourite actors, John Lithgow, and the then relatively unknown Norbert Leo Butz, who went on to be in Wicked.
It's got Steve Martin in it, by the way.
Yeah. Music and lyrics by Dave Yazbek.
And Michael Caine.
And it was an incredibly funny musical. Really, really enjoyed it. Was slightly less impressed when I saw the UK production, but this show was just an absolute delight. It was a real old-fashioned musical comedy. And I always think, I told this story a couple of times on the podcast, I love a show that doesn't take itself seriously. And when you have a pre-show announcement that goes, John Lithgow said, "Ladies and gentlemen, at tonight's production of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, there will be no pre-show announcement. Thank you." You are in the irreverent world of this musical.
I love
and
that.
It's just brilliant.
Are there any... Oh, sorry. No, carry on. No, I was only going to say, because that one, obviously, you say about Broadway. Are there any shows that you've seen that have come from Broadway over here that just have not translated? Or vice versa?
Translated? Do you mean...
Or like you've seen it or something on Broadway. It's like, oh my goodness, that's great. And then it's come over here and just flopped. Or the other way around, something that's done really well here and it's gone over to America, and America's just like, no, don't want this one.
It's not a show I've seen, but Rent is a good example of that. Rent has never worked here. And on Broadway, it was a huge
really
hit.
Well, yeah.
People loved it. Legally Blonde, didn't see it on Broadway, but it was a huge hit here.
Okay.
Mostly because of Sheridan Smith, I will say.
That's not one that I'm really very familiar with.
But it's a good question and something to consider for another discussion, perhaps. I shall think more about that. Here's the final programme. Okay. Oh my God, right.
Why, what is it? What is it?
This is Saturday Night Fever at the London Palladium. Just let that sink in for a second. This was the film plonked on stage.
Not seen the film.
It has one of the cleverest logos.
Yeah, that's pretty snazzy.
And I loved it.
Really? See, this is one of those, if I saw it, I just wouldn't go. I would not go.
It shows its age. It has a Cats advert in it.
Another show I haven't seen.
This musical was just bizarre, or play with songs, whatever you want to call it. It had Adam Garcia in it. And it has the original cast album being advertised in it, including Staying Alive, Jive Talking, You Should Be Dancing, Immortality, and a smash hit single, Night Fever, out now on CD and cassette.
Oh, yes. CD and cassette.
Anything on at London Palladium is always spectacular, and this show was...
I need to go and see something at the Palladium.
This show was one of them, and I remember the preset, when you walked in, had the Brooklyn Bridge on it, and it had little tiny cars. Oh, just kind of.
You mean not just a logo?
No. Just before that, we have to talk about that as well.
Okay.
One day, anyway.
One of your biggest gripes.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing this then?
I do remember seeing it. I've got a program for it somewhere in there. I'll take it out after we've had this discussion. But the floor lit up. It was one of those amazing kind of. It was very ambitious for its time, but it was a bit of a...
How long ago was it, sorry?
When was the first production of this done? Let's have a look. I want to say probably 2000s, early 2000s. Let's have a look. 1998.
No.
Yep, first performance, 21st of April, 1998. Directed and choreographed by Dame Arlene Phillips.
Oh, icon.
Costume designed by Andy Edwards. Well done. And yeah,
is that when you saw this then?
probably. I'd have been 14.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
What month do you reckon you saw it in?
I don't know.
In 98.
Can't remember.
Gosh.
Never seen the film, but it's just a
What,
great.
me or you?
No,
or
I've
you?
never seen the film.
You've never seen it.
Let's look at the cast.
1998.
Anyone popping out as
My god. Should I tell you how old I was?
I know how old you were. I don't think anyone needs to know how old you were. Just looking at the cast, see if any names pop out. But look at the size of the cast.
Wow.
About 40 people in this show.
That is impressive.
Big band as well, with orchestral management featuring a telephone number.
I love that. CD and cassette.
4 people on sound.
Wow.
A lot of songs. The cast goes on, God, it just goes on and on and on. Never seen. Look how young Arlene Phillips looks.
Oh, with that Edna Mode haircut.
Yeah. But that's
so cool.
That's our episode, listeners. Bit of fun.
It was a bit of a spur of the moment.
Yeah. But it's a good, as we said, good topic generator.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah.
No, thank you. You've extended my knowledge of plays with songs and musical theatre.
Yeah.
Or musicals rather. And just seeing these shows that I didn't even realise I didn't know there was a Saturday Night Fever musical. I'd forgotten
about half these shows. So
was it nice for you to be able to think back on these shows that you have seen?
Yeah. And
see, this is the power,
especially Sweeney Todd. That was the
power of programs.
Exactly.
The power of programs. Which out of these would you say is your most standout one that you've seen that we've discussed this evening?
Stand out for which reasons? For what reasons? Even which reason? What reasons?
Just your fonder memories of them, or ones that you go, oh my goodness, this one.
Mary Poppins was a big personal favourite. I feel very lucky to have seen Beetlejuice. I did enjoy Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I'd like to see Grand Hotel again. I knew nothing, forgot about Hamlet. Forbidden Planet's always fun to remember. The backbeat and the Let It Be weird. But yeah,
Beatles moments.
Yeah, it's been a great.
It's been lovely to hear about it as well.
Great trip. Thank you, Hannah.
No, thank you.
And thank you, listener. We shall
see you on the next one.
Thanks. Bye bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Musical Talk. To find out more about the world of Musical Talk, you can visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk, where you'll find all our episodes, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Musical Talk.